Hi, I'm Kynndle Hellman, and this is Miss Dianne Whatley Clem, and she has been chosen for Distinguished Alumni for AHS. How are you today?
I am great, and you?
I'm good.
You're doing. I can't believe this. You're new to all this.
I am.
You're good.
Thank you. What does it mean to you to be recognized in this way?
To be recognized in this way is very humbling and an honor. To be recognized by the school district that made me what I am today, an educator of 47 years, and I always wanted to be a teacher, but my teachers in high school also recognized that and wanted me to join the back then I think it was called the Future Teachers of America.
Hi.
And I knew all along that's what I wanted to be, was a teacher. And then when I was a teacher at the primary school, I had a principal, Mr. Gus Schumann and Mr. Donald Ray Brown, and they both called me into their office and said, "You're a great teacher, but we think you'd also be a great principal, and we want you to work on that." So I had to go back to school and get that certification.
All right. What are some of your favorite memories from your time at AHS?
My favorite memories? Well, of course, it was boyfriends and football games and cheering the Atlanta Rabbits on, and just the camaraderie and the atmosphere and of course, we're talking about in the '60s and '70s, mind you, which you weren't even born, I'm sure. But it it was just a time where everybody felt like family, and there wasn't anyone afraid, that a
Yeah.
shooter could come into the building, or it was just a great time to grow up and be in high school in Atlanta. And the community, every Friday, some of the businesses even closed, I think, to go to out of town football games,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was just it was I couldn't have had any better memories.
Okay. So how did your time here help prepare you for the pathway you've taken since graduation?
Like I said, I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and there were teachers that really mentored me, and a counselor. I remember Miss Wita Guest, who helped you think about your future then as a counselor, and she but, they really didn't I didn't feel like I was pushed to do, a certain thing. I felt like they said, "Look at all things that you can be, and not just close the door, and say, 'Okay, this is all I'm gonna be.'" And and I did, and I, first started out in college, I was gonna be an accountant, and I took all those classes, and then I sat in on a special ed class, and right then, I changed my mind, and I said, "Yes, I am gonna be a teacher." And so Atlanta, it just instilled, a good work ethic,
Mm.
and I went through the DECA program while I was in high school, and I worked at First National Bank in Atlanta, and sometimes I would have to catch a ride. I didn't have a car until my senior year, and I would catch a ride to work at the bank, to work half a day after going to school in the morning time, and then being in all the extracurricular activities that I was in. I played volleyball and loved my coach, Miss Caroline Johnson. Uh, she really taught. I learned a lot about teamwork and to respect someone else, even if they didn't think like you thought, to respect them and to always, you can have a lot of skills, but if you don't have integrity and passion for what you wanna do and good work ethics, mm, y you you'll end up going through a lot of jobs, I would think,
Yeah.
before you found the one that you really had a passion for and loved, like I did. I didn't have to go through many. I worked at a bank, and then I went still as a teacher after I got out of college.
Well, that sounds nice. Um, what advice would you give to today's students?
The advice that I would give to today's students is the same I gave them when I taught DECA here at Atlanta High School. First time we had a program. It was I worked with a mentor of mine, Mary Jane Howard, and we constantly were talking to students about, they can be talented and, think they're really good at something, but if they don't have a good work ethic, they're not going to last very long, and they have to be trustworthy. They have to be able to get along with people they work with, and so they're going to go out into the world of work when they leave. Whether they go straight to the world of work after high school, or if they go through college and further their education past college, it's um, it's a hard world out there, and you have to. You can't think you know everything, and when you fail, which, I mean, everybody fails in life at something at some time, and if you learn from that, then you're gonna be better off the next opportunity that comes your way. So I would instill, and surround yourself with Christian people that will pray for you and want you to do well. I think that's just, I found so many students and teachers, when they first came to work, they had to learn to get along with their coworkers, and, you're not in this world all by yourself, so you've got to, be friendly to people and always be kind to them.
And finally, what does being a rabbit for life mean to you?
Being a rabbit for life means bleeding maroon and white, and, I mean, I was a rabbit for life, um when I was cheerleader in junior high, and I mean, I was hooked, and cheering on the Atlanta somebody came up, I think it was when, Coach Schonberg was our AD, "It's a great day to be a rabbit." That has stuck with Atlanta, and, I mean, you hear people that really don't even know anything about football saying it's a great day to be a rabbit, because the community has always circled around the school and supported everything the school, has been involved in, and to me, if I can pass that on down to generations, that's something that I take a lot of pride in.
I know that you were principal at the elementary school for a while, so what were some of the good things that happened while you were there?
Oh, listen, some I probably couldn't tell because, uh I think about the students that came through and the teachers, and we had a little girl one time bring her kitten to school in her backpack, and she didn't just bring the kitten, but she brought the water bowl and the food and all this, and the teacher buzzed the office and said, think I think I've got a cat in my room." Well, I thought she was just playing, and so it took me a minute before I got down there to the classroom, and sure enough, I just walked in and sat down, uh, to where I could see a student that still had their backpack kinda in their arms. So I thought this has to be where the kitten is, and sure enough, it started meowing and all that, and I just leaned over to the little girl, because the teacher was, uh she was being evaluated that day, and n that used to make teachers nervous a little bit, that somebody was observing them and gonna critique them and that sort of thing, give them some constructive criticism. And so I thought, "Okay, I gotta get this kitten out of this classroom for this teacher's sake." Well, I didn't want to hurt the little girl's feelings because she was, I mean, she was just so proud to have her kitten with her. And so I just leaned over and I said, "Sweetie, it's probably time for your kitten to eat and drink some water. So I'm gonna take it to the office while listen to your teacher, and then I'll be sure it's fed and everything, and then, I'll get it back to you at the end of the day." And she was fine, so I walked out with the kitten. And the teacher was thrilled that the cat was out of the room. And, and then I think about the knighting ceremonies that we used to have, character education program that we had. Uh, Students looked forward to that, and they worked really hard at their not just their classroom work and their grades and being a good classmate, they worked on their character, and they worked on because they knew that they were being observed at all times, and probably not a kid in that building didn't want to be knighted, and it was a big deal that we did that for several years. Um, I can remember working with my very best friend, Miss Clayton, who is still a music teacher at the elementary school, and we would, that was back in, 9/11 when the Twin Towers, the terrorists and all that happened, and so we started a program called the, Patriot Day program, and it was, really involved all the veterans here in our community. And then one day I told Miss Clayton, I said, Let's do something in your class, and let's remove all the chairs from your classroom. And when your students come in, they're gonna be saying, "Where's my desk? Well, how am I gonna sit down?" and all that. I said, "And then I'm gonna have some veterans that will be waiting, uh, in the office, and they will come down and open the door and come in and bring the chairs and seat the chairs in the classroom, and then we'll just have a little history lesson and tell them that if it weren't for these men and women standing here, that you wouldn't be able to come to school. You wouldn't have the freedom and the rights that you have if it weren't for veterans who fought for our freedom." And I I think that was a memorable, real memorable time. Of course, we were known for having, great test scores, but just so much more than just testing
Yeah.
at that level. Students want to feel loved, just like I taught 12th grade, and 12th graders wanted to be loved just like elementary students did. They wanted to know that you cared about them. And I think, just seeing a new teacher. I'll never forget one time the first time I ever hired an alternative certification teacher. Believe it or not, there used to be people that really went to school to be teachers, and, that was a new thing, and I was real worried about hiring this lady, but I did, and it turned out that, she is now superintendent in another school district, and she was an outstanding teacher, Jennifer Lance. When, I I just we had a lot of fun, all the students. I wanted to be sure they loved coming to school, and I wanted the teachers to feel the same way. So I did a lot of Miss Rice, came in to assist me there at the elementary school, and we we were constantly thinking of fun activities and things that we could do, and we always invited, the Atlanta Rabbits to come down, and of course, those boys wanted to be one of those boys one day, and the cheerleaders and band, people. It was just, it was a time that I absolutely loved being a principal.
Yeah. Well, well, congratulations and thank you for joining me today. Again, I'm Kynndle Hellman, and this is Rabbit TV News.
Thank you, Kynndle. You did great.